From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. You're listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle here with the 10 a.m. news rundown. A high-risk sex offender is missing from his halfway house in Vancouver after this weekend. 58-year-old Randall Hopley is now wanted Canada-wide after vanishing on Saturday. Premier David Eby is criticizing the National Parole Board for not placing him under stricter supervision. There haven't been any confirmed sightings of Hopley yet, but the VPD is urging anyone with information to notify police. Hopley was scheduled to appear in provincial court on Monday, charged with 2 counts of violating his supervision order in January after he was caught in a public library in close proximity to children. I'm going to hand it over to our producer, Aaliyah Andres, now, who has more on this story and what we're covering today. Aaliyah?
Thanks, Jocelyn. So Vancouver Police Department Sergeant Steve Addison acknowledged the public's anxiety surrounding the incident this morning, saying, "We understand there's a lot of fear, and the VPD, along with the province, is urging any sightings of Hopley to be reported immediately." And we'll hopefully be hearing more on that later from one of our in-house reporters. He'll be trying to get a hold of some city councillors. We'll hopefully also be hearing about an avian flu breakout at a Fraser Valley poultry plant, and additionally a landslide in Karamis that has shut down Highway 3. The province will be giving an update about that this afternoon. Back to you, Jocelyn.
Thanks, Aaliyah. About that avian flu, Canadian authorities have detected it present at 2 BC locations over this weekend. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says that it was detected on Saturday at 2 commercial poultry locations, one in Langley and the other in Abbotsford. The outbreaks were the first since April, when infected wild birds migrating north were blamed for spreading the disease in BC and several other Canadian provinces. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has confirmed the appointment of Mary Moreau to the Supreme Court of Canada. James Bronsdale with the Canadian Press has more on this historic moment.
By the retirement of Russell Brown. Before her appointment to the Alberta Court 29 years ago, the bilingual Moreau practiced law in her native Edmonton, handling civil, criminal, and constitutional cases. A majority of the judges on the 9-member Supreme Court of Canada are now women for the first time in its 148-year history. Jim Bronskill, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
Premiers across Canada are gathering today and are anticipated to be discussing home heating costs at the Council of Federation meeting. The focus on the cost of fuel comes after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a 3-year pause on carbon pricing for home fuel oil. The recent decision, however, does not apply to BC and Quebec. Meetings are scheduled to carry out this afternoon in Halifax, while in Ottawa, the members of Parliament are voting on a motion from the Conservatives for the carbon price to be lifted from all forms of home heating. Speaking of homes, as of 8 a.m. Sunday, approximately 3,800 people across Chilliwack and Abbotsford are still without power after a widespread outage. A downed tree branch is responsible for the power outages. Initially, FortisBC says 10,000 customers were affected. They say recent droughts could be to blame for the damage, but crews are working to have power back up and running by lunchtime. Former Shaw technicians who now work for Rogers are striking today here in Vancouver. This happened after the union didn't respond to the company's latest offer and issued a 72-hour strike notice on Friday. The United Steelworkers Local 1944 claimed the company is trying to replace full-time contractors and employees. Rogers denied these claims. Ahead of the current job action, Rogers also issued a lockout notice, saying it is the only way to ensure continued service to customers. Now to weather and traffic. It's looking to be a mix of sun and cloud, heavy on the cloud part. There's a chance of rain closer to noon, with showers easing up around midnight. The temperature may reach 12 degrees today, but looking to stay around that 10 mark. Now, if you're looking on traveling on Highway 3 today, you may want to reconsider. A rock slide near Karamis has closed Highway 3, a portion of it. But anyways, those were your 10 a.m. news headlines. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle. Thank you for tuning in to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
The UBC Thunderbirds football team is set to host its playoff opener on Saturday. It's been an excellent season so far for the Thunderbirds as they finished with the best record in the Canada West Conference for the first time since 1999. One of the team's star players is Sam Davenport, a wide receiver who transferred to the school for this season. Before that, he was at SFU and was one of the many players blindsided by the school axing the football program. When SFU football was shut down, Davenport was just a couple semesters away from graduation. He was faced with a tough choice: either stop playing football so he could finish his degree at SFU as some of his former teammates did, or move to a new school so he could keep playing football but have to change his degree program. He chose the latter and stayed close to home by transferring to UBC. Now close to the end of his season with the Thunderbirds, I sat down with him to chat about the whirlwind of a year he's had, the new home he's found in Vancouver, and how his bond with his former team remains strong. Taking us back to last year, how much of an advance warning did you have that the SFU football program could be shutting down?
Not a lot. I mean, obviously it's been a while, but I remember hearing murmurs and rumors about it, but nothing firm until we really had that meeting, right? And so that came as a surprise to most of us. Yeah, like that was really it. There wasn't much. It was just the thought of that, and the murmurs. That was really it. There was no clear-cut answer until that meeting.
And with the suddenness of it all, how did that hit you both emotionally and mentally in the fallout from it?
Well, you got to really look at everything, right? I mean, emotionally, it's all about the guys and the guys that are there. I mean, it's hard to go back into your shoes and feel what you were feeling. But I know that in that moment, like, it was all about family and about the guys around us. And I know that it was like taking a stand and, seeing what we could do because, we didn't feel it was right. And looking back at it, I liked what we did.
You guys really put a lot of work into trying to find other options. So why wasn't this as simple of a situation as, oh, it's fine, I can just transfer to another school and play there?
What it was is a lot of us had, it's about the academics as well. We know that SFU is a high academic school, and a lot of us had and are still in the process of finishing that SFU degree. A lot of us were really close to, and when you commit to a university, like most of us did, you expect to be there for the long running, with the expectation that you're going to be served both the academic side as well as the student athlete side. And when the student athlete side is let down, we're not just going to abandon our post because the academic side is there, right? So it's a hard thing to look at, and it's a hard thing to really you got to really see and it's like restarting almost. It's like you really got to look at what you have and see what you want to do, because a lot of those guys, I know a lot of the team is now not playing football, right? SFU provided a great program for lots of kids to continue to play football after that high school level, and now they're not able to. So it sucks. It really does.
And what was the decision-making process like for you of, I can stay at SFU and complete my degree here, or I can keep playing football by going somewhere else? How did you weigh those two options?
Well, for me, it's an everyone decision. You got to take into everything to effect, right? Because I'm close to finishing that SFU degree, but football, I've always played football, and I've played it for 7 years, and I'm not going to stop that. So it's something that you had to take into effect. It's a tough decision. I had a lot of options. I looked into different things, and it was all based on not just this student athlete side, it was the academics, because obviously the academic piece is a big important part to me. In the end, it led me to UBC. So that's just kind of how my thought process was. Obviously went with family and friends. I had to discuss that with them and all the different aspects, right?
And what was it that made you land on UBC as the best place for you to go to?
I think for me, it was just the meant a lot to me, and it still does. I still want to be there. It was about the closeness. It was about being close to family, close to friends, especially in a tough time. I've personally made a lot of friends out here, and I wasn't ready to leave that quite yet. And I just felt like in that time that I had and the time that the program, it's a tough day. So I just decided to stay home. I thought it would be easier, and it's working out pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a great individual season. You're leading the conference in the receiving yards per game. What do you credit that success that you've had to adjusting to a new team, new rules as well, playing U Sports rules?
I credit a lot of people. The coaches here at UBC have been very helpful in my transition. Like you said, the CFL game or the Canadian game, it's a new game. So they put me in a spot where they thought might be easiest to transition to, and I felt that the position that they did put me in was the easiest transition. So, really being able to use that position and use that easy transfer, that easy, I don't know how to put it, but basically like being able to use my skills from, previous game, from the American game to the Canadian game. It wasn't a huge difference, and as the season slowly moved on, we're putting me into different spots, kind of learning the CFL game, because, there's all these different rules. There's all these crazy different rules, and I'm learning them as I go. So.
And with the playoffs beginning this weekend, what is the confidence level like within the team coming in first in Canada West and coming into at least this semifinal matchup as the favorites?
It's just not being complacent. We haven't proved anything. The situation that we're in is obviously a favorable one, but we are going to treat it like any other game. It's any other week. Obviously, the emotions are a little bit higher, and the physicality kind of gets up there, but, we're going to treat it, and we're going to prepare like we have all season, and that's really how we're looking at this game.
I mean, after everything that's happened in the last year plus with having the program shut down, having to transfer schools, learn new rules, playing the Canadian style of football, what are you going to be taking with you from all of these experiences after your time at UBC is done?
Well, I'll say that from my time and experience that, it's really your close friends and your close family that really keep you going. I think that just having, that hard work ethic and continuing to try and look at positives, that's what will really keep you going, right? Especially in our team, my SFU team, we faced a lot of, obviously a lot of tough times, and we kept staying positive and, looking at the bright side, and it didn't end in our favor. I know a lot of my guys, we're still friends, and we still keep in touch, and I think that overall it kept us closer for the long run.
Thank you again to Sam Davenport for chatting with me here. He and the rest of the UBC Thunderbirds football team will be taking on the University of Manitoba on Saturday at Thunderbird Stadium in Vancouver. I'm Jake McGrail, and this has been the For the Record segment on 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenaro.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everyone. I'm Max Mashman.
I'm Jake McGrail.
And we're doing The Monster Cast.
Nailed it. So, Max, it's Halloween week, the week before Halloween, one of my favorite days of the year. And one very popular part of Halloween is haunted houses.
I love haunted houses.
You do love haunted houses.
I do love haunted houses. I mean, just the decoration, the aesthetic. Like you said, Halloween is one of the best parts of the year. And since you think that, I'm assuming you like haunted houses, right, Jake?
I mean, this was a common theme when working on this, the dichotomy of me enjoying Halloween, but I don't like haunted houses. I don't like the feeling of being in one, just the uneasiness. The feeling of being scared, it's too much for me.
So is it the jump scares, the decorations?
It's the jump scares.
Okay,
it's the jump scares.
I
enjoy the candy. I enjoy the trick or treating. I don't need this side of things.
You want to be spooked, but not too spooked.
Yeah, but I wanted to learn about haunted houses.
Yeah, so in the effort to learn more about haunted houses, we actually spoke to a couple of haunted house proprietors and a couple of horror authors.
Yeah, I mean, going in, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but like you said, we went to an expert.
So my name is Barry Brinkworth, and my wife Tammy and I are both co-owners of Brinkworth Dungeon Mansion of Monsters.
Brinkworth Dungeon began in Richmond over 20 years ago. It's now in Langley and is set to move again next year as Barry and his wife Tammy plan to sell their place and move elsewhere in Metro Vancouver. But no matter where he's been, Barry has always wanted to run a haunted house.
My very first haunted house was when I was for my 9th birthday. We had a house with a basement in Kerrisdale, and I said I'd like to build a haunted house in there. And they allowed me to do it and gave me a bunch of materials and all sorts of stuff, and then I just kind of ran wild. And I had 7 friends, and I toured them through and scared them. Last year was actually the 50th anniversary, really, of Brinkworth Dungeon. That's where it was all started.
And one interesting thing I found about Brinkworth was that it was all homemade, and like we got to tour his workshop a little bit, we got to see the process he goes through, and it's clear he puts a lot of effort into what he's doing.
Yeah, the workshop filled with so many different projects that he's working on. He pointed out one piece he really liked, this hand-sculpted figure of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, made out of styrofoam plaster Paris. He said almost 400 hours of work had been put into that one sculpture. And I mean, the dungeon, it's inseparable from their actual home because it's literally attached to their actual house. This whole structure that the haunted house is in, it's just, no matter what time of year it is, he's always working on that haunted house.
In my head, it's a year-round thing. It's happening like literally 24/7. On average, it's usually about 12 weeks before Halloween, before we're going to open. I usually start, okay, now this has to be done and move around. And then because this has been here for 11 years, it always needs repairs.
And even before you go into the house, it's also crazy because there's so many decorations, just like basically in a weird little winding maze through his garden outside. And then you arrive at this weird little detached kind of structure thing. It all felt very creepy. It all felt very Halloween. It always felt very spooktacular.
There weren't any of the house's scare actors that we went through, which personally I appreciated that. But it was still a creepy journey winding through the house as we did. Okay, so we've made it inside now.
So we need to go down the stairs to the dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh. That is very Haunted Mansion style.
Okay, yeah, so the door just opened on its own. And it is a dark hallway. I assume we have to go through these curtains, so Max, you're gonna go first.
I'm gonna go first?
You're gonna go first.
Okay. Wish me luck.
The roof is also leaking, which is which
it adds to the aesthetic.
It's not intentional, but it does very much add to the aesthetic. The hallways and the ceiling are very cramped in some spots. The ceiling,
above our heads right now has got to be at most about 6.5 feet.
So many like little windy things, you can't see what's around the corner.
Yeah, very twisty, turny. Oh. There's a whole Egyptian mummy section. There's just like went from a house to a stone temple. Now we're just like in a cave underground.
Every horror pop culture reference you could want is here. So, one thing that you might not have heard from the audio there was a jump scare at the end. Even though there were no scare actors, Barry, being the sassy little guy he was, decided to don a costume and jump scare us himself. And unfortunately, we did not capture Jake's reaction to that, but...
It wasn't my fault. I was recording the audio. I don't know what happened. I might have pushed some sort of button when I was startled or like shook my phone in some way. But no, I mean, I wish we had it. I suffered, and it wasn't even for the content.
Yeah, it wasn't for the content. And I mean, it was spooky. I mean, initially I almost thought he was a decoration, and then
Yeah, I mean that's really goes back to why I'm not a huge fan of haunted houses, because going through the rest of the house and appreciating the artistry there, I thought that was cool. It was fun seeing all that creativity, all the creepiness. But then I just don't get why people enjoy that feeling of sudden terror and being scared in that way.
Yeah, but someone who might get why people enjoy that sudden terror and being scared in that way is horror author, local Vancouver horror author, Christopher O'Halloran.
I think most people want to feel the danger. And we see that a lot with, action movies and thrillers and everything. And we see that a lot with the proliferation of true crime these days.
And Chris also thinks there might actually be a real-life benefit from consuming horror as a genre.
Maybe it prepares them for the real world. It prepares them for feeling those feelings, like experiencing those feelings in a safe environment on a page or on a movie screen. It allows you to find some sort of peace for when that actually happens.
I mean, Max, I don't know about you, but for me personally, I don't know if anything will prepare me to have a feeling of peace when someone wearing a clown mask jumps up from behind a wall and wields a knife at me. But that's just me.
And speaking about feeling horrified in the moment, we also went to another haunted house, one called Cougar Creek, which was almost like a haunted village.
And then while we were there, we spoke with Heather Gibbons, one of the longtime staff members at the place.
The funny thing is, I'm not really into horror, but I love the atmosphere. It is a crazy, fun atmosphere. People love it and hate it and love to hate it, if you know what I mean.
So now we have someone not even that into horror working at a haunted house. I thought that was like the most important thing you had to put in your job application.
Yeah, well, I think Heather just loves the work because of the social element of it. I mean, according to what she said, and the actors and like the just kind of the vibe and the experience.
The customers are great. They come out of the house breathing very hard, and sometimes even worse than that. But they love to talk and tell what they experienced, what they enjoyed, and that sort of thing. The actors are crazy, but so much fun.
Something that we learned from both Heather and Barry when we went to their haunted house is that the haunted house community here in the Lower Mainland is actually one that can be fairly interconnected and fairly friendly with each other.
Yeah, I know. It kind of surprised me too, but according to Heather and Barry, who both already knew each other and had visited each other's haunted houses very close to the interviews.
Yeah, just a few days before we spoke to both of them.
And apparently, so a very interconnected community and a lot of friendly competition.
In BC, there aren't that many haunted houses, so it is a community. Of course, they want to keep their secrets, and you don't ever reveal everything. You always hold a few things back, but they do work together as much as possible.
I really didn't expect going in how much we heard from both haunted houses we checked out about the feeling of community.
Yeah, but I guess like all the actors are all local, right? All the staff are all local, and they're doing it as almost a community event. I mean, I know both haunted houses donated to the food bank. I know for Barry, it was a big part of the reason he started his first kind of professional one. I mean, his first one was when he was 9 years old, but
yeah, first professional one.
First professional one was to raise donations for the food bank, and what he actually told us was that at the time, very unique model, and then he realized that like everyone else was also doing that, which is kind of crazy, honestly. That you have a community of monsters, spooky people, but they're just sweethearts wanting to get back to the community.
We're in the business of scaring people, except also at the same time we're doing all this charity work for the same people that we're scaring. And so another common theme is that these houses, they're run by artists, and this is really a way for them to express themselves. They put a lot of effort and care into their work, and it's on top of being about scaring people, it's also this way of just showing off all of this passion that they have.
Our cost to actually do this is like, it almost makes it impossible to do it, but I have so much passion for it. I'm an artist. It's expressing yourself and doing something you're really passionate about. So my thought is, if a child goes through here and sees something and sees that somebody has made a monster from nothing or carved a wall, they might go home and say, can I stay up a little bit later? I just want to draw something. I said, and that guy might grow up and be in the movie industry.
I mean, that concludes our spooktacular, horrific, horrifying haunted house experiences. Any last thoughts on that, Jake?
I mean, I can say that haunted houses, still not for me personally. I mean, I do get why people like you, like Barry, like Heather, like everyone else do enjoy them. I feel like I'm someone, I can appreciate them more from a safe distance.
So your opinion wasn't changed on these?
Not too much. I mean, I enjoyed hearing more from their perspective, but and seeing the artistic side of it, but I don't think I can be convinced to enjoy jump scares.
Well, Jake, let me tell you, my opinion did change.
Oh, what is it?
For the better. I love them even more now.
We didn't think we could keep climbing higher, but we keep climbing higher.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do it for this episode of the Monster Cast.
And until next time, happy haunting.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics.
I'm on the top of the world looking down one creation, and the only explanation I can find. There's a lot that I found ever since you've been around. Your love's put me at the top of the world. Journal season, 50 years old. I am currently working as home support worker or caregiver. I moved to Canada, October 28, 2008. We are 11 siblings, very poor. Kasi ang nanay ko is plain housewife, and then ang tatay was before he was working in a logging. And then nagkaroon siya ng accident, nagkaroon siya ng knee injury, and so from that on, ano na lang kami sa farm. Ako naman, working students din ako. From, if I remember, nag-i-start na ako like grade 4 na tumutulong na doon sa barangay captain namin, meron silang store. So tumutulong na ako doon sa store. And then nagkaroon yun ng mga like NPA military encounter. So nag-declare ng no man's land sa barangay namin. So pumunta kaming town, and then doon na nag-start na tumitira na ako ng unti-unti doon para ako ang inampon din, barangay captain namin. Simpleng pangarap ko, like, laptop, like, ang anak ko gustong malamig kasi nung na-hospital siya, ayaw niya niyang lumabas kasi daw sabi niya may aircon. So, simpleng ganong pangarap. Hindi ko mabibili. Dahil talagang, kahit at night, I was working, kasi mostly talaga panggabi ako. At night, I was working, and then punta ako sa umaga after mag-pick up ng mga paninda. So wala talaga, hindi talaga kasya.
My name is Raquel Narway. I'm 38 years old. At the moment, I'm working as a maintenance planner. So, my life in the Philippines was really, 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 really hard. Like, I would say that I'm probably one of the most, like, I would say superlative, most and poorest person in the Philippines. I grew up on top of the mountain, no electricity, no proper water filtration and everything like that. I had to walk 5 kilometers one way to go to school every day when I was like a kid. And then my father died when I was 13 years old, and my mother was left with 6 kids. So just imagine, my mom didn't have a proper job really. So just imagine the struggle that we had. We had to dig something from the forest for us to be able to eat on that day. And sometimes we just sleep without eating anything. I work in high school. I got scholarship in college, and I was able to finish my degree. And after that, I just went on and on with looking for opportunities here and there, like in the Philippines or out of the country. I was already earning good money, but I was not contented, I guess. I mean, I was looking for more opportunities because at that time my mom was sick, and I really wanted her to have a better life. So I found more opportunities online, and I found an employer here in Canada. So that's when I came here as a nanny.
So I'm Claire, 28 years old, office manager. I'm currently studying as an international student. Well, my family are in the upper middle class, so I can say na privileged enough kami na, actually I don't necessarily need to move here technically to work my ass off. Like, I'm not sending money to the Philippines, and I feel like I'm happy, lucky, and grateful na ganun yung setup na binigay sa akin ng mundo. I'm gay ever since I was 6 years old. Medyo tanggap ko na kasi na ganun sa Philippines. But for my partner, I think isa sa mga reasons niya talaga for moving here, like for accepting my invitation to move here, was pagdating dito, we can get married. I just feel guilty na parang syempre maganda yung position niya sa Philippines, and okay naman yung salary niya, like it's not middle, it's like higher than the usual in the Philippines. So I just feel like ngayon iba-ibang jobs yung na-explore niya, and she has no choice but to be flexible. Unlike sa Philippines, kumbaga alam na niya na she's an operations manager, and it's like sa business side and everything. But in here, we're quite restricted kasi bilang international students, and open work permit, hindi pa kami pwede gumawa ng any business here. So, it's like we're just in here, you know, sort of to survive. Survival mode muna.
Though we were in poverty in the Philippines, we were poor in the Philippines and never experienced taking care of other people's kids. So I had to learn, you know, how to change diapers, how to clean houses, because when I was in the Philippines, even we were living on top of the mountain, my father was like, just go and study, we'll do everything for you. So when I arrived here, I was like, I imagined myself crying while when the kid I was watching vomit on me. I was like, I never experienced this. Like, even I was poor, I never experienced being other people's maid. Why am I doing this? I was crying while I was cleaning his vomit. I was like, I was a professional teacher in the Philippines. Everybody called me ma'am. So I was like, what am I doing here? But then in my mind, you know what? I am here for a reason, and that reason was for me to have a better life, to give my family back home a better life.
Ang nag-sponsor sa akin, unang employer, is childcare. Napunta ako sa Kinel. For some reason, hindi kami nag-click talaga. Finire ako, na nag-work lang ako sa kanila ng 1 month. Ang gusto ng employer na yon, i-transfer ako sa Chiliwak. Mayroon daw silang kaibigan dyan, Chiliwak na employee, na willing na sa akin, mag-take over. Sabi ko, I choose to stay doon sa kay auntie. Ayoko sumama. Nagalit sila. Alam mo, finire ako that day, pinatayan ako ng ilaw, na wala din akong kamalay-malay. Talagang inosente ako, umakyat pa ako. Sabi ko, ma'am, ang tawag ko, ma'am, wala na akong ilaw. Tapos talagang dinidma ako. That was November 28, sa Conel, kasagsagan ng snow. Pack your things in 10 minutes or else we will throw sa snow, sabi. Pababa ako, kasi dahil sila pababa ako, ang dinasal ko lang, Lord, ang dasal ko lang, Lord, padalhan mo ako ng tao na maghatid sa akin. Mga ilang minuto lang, wala yatang minuto, segundo, may truck na pag ganong direction, pag ganito kami, pag ganong direction. Tapos, alam mo, umikot siya. Sabi niya, is somebody pick you up? No, sabi ko, no, my employer just fired me. Tapos umiiyak na ako. Tapos sabi niya, oh, where are you going? Sabi ko, I don't know the address, but I know how to, kasi nga naglakad ako, I know how to go there. Tapos alam mo ba, tinuro ko lang sa kanya yung daan, natuntun ko yung bahay nila, Auntie Bibang.
Bata pa lang po talaga ako, parang wala pa po kumalay, hindi ko na po siya nakikita. I think I remember po one time, uuwi po siya ng Pinas. Pero sabi po ng tita ko, yung nag-alaga po sa akin na, dadating yung friend ni mama mo, pipick upin natin yung camera ang pinadala niya. Tapos pagdating po ng airport, niyakap po niya ako. Siya po pala yung nanay ko. Kasi po sabi ko, hindi ko po kilala. Wala na po akong nakilalang hardworking na ibang tao katulad ng nanay ko.
Uuwi naman, di ba?
Kahit po lahat ng friends namin, like ng mga close family friends, alam po nila. Wala pong na-attend na birthday yan kasi laging nasa work. Alam, dito po parang big adjustments. Kasi po kahit yung papa ko, hindi ko po kasama sa Pilipinas. So, nung pagdating po dito, parang nakakabigla na, dalawang tao kasama mo na hindi mo masyadong ka-close. Ganun.
I'm Vincent, I'm 23 years old, and I work for TransLink as a social media content creator. Moving here with my mom and living with her permanently it's really weird. It's really weird. I mean, I was happy, obviously. Like, between me and my brother, I'm more close to my mom than he is because I guess we're both females, and I guess that's one factor. And I borrow her clothes. I'm more like steal, but I'll say borrow. I moved to Canada, like I said, when I was 16, and so I guess I have my own way of thinking, and she's been, I don't know how old she was when I moved, but she's I don't know, it's different when you, I guess, can establish the relationship early on in life than establishing that relationship later. My mom's working, you know, when we were here, when we just moved here, obviously she's working all the time and she had 2 jobs at the time. And so there's not really a lot of time for her kids unless it's her day off.
My name is Tiffany Epistola. I am 25 years old and I am a nurse. My dad was 15 years old when he immigrated here from the Philippines, and my mom was in college. My parents don't really understand the importance of rest. They're constantly going because of how they feel towards like making ends meet, right? And so because of that, I feel like they neglected their mental health a lot, and that impacted me a lot as a child.
Kasi po yung nanay ko, hindi po siya yung type na ma-showy sa love. Like yung sa salita, sa actions po talaga. Like kunyari, bibigay niya na lang po yung mga kailangan mo, like di mo naman ina-ask. Bumiyak ma. Yun po, like, sobrang na-appreciate ko lang po siya nung lalo na lumabas si Ellie.
Something that I want to say to my parents is obviously thank you for your sacrifice. Your sacrifice is something that I will never understand. Probably will never, yeah. Have never, will never understand what it's like to uplift your entire life and move over to a place that's so foreign to you. You know, having to relearn a new language, new customs, new traditions, like a whole different culture, just so you can promise your kids a better life. So that takes so much guts and courage and resilience. Another thing I'd like to say is that there's no manual on how to be the perfect parent. There's no manual for life in general, right? But then as a second-gen immigrant, I need to, I guess, like realize that, you know, they're doing the best with what they know. And I am also doing the best with what I know. And as long as we continue finding a place, like a middle ground, then, you know, there's no problems at all. I feel like, from the bottom of my heart, thanks to my parents. And I love them a lot.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. but it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, you're listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle here with the 11 a.m. news rundown. A high-risk sex offender is missing from his halfway house in Vancouver after this weekend. 58-year-old Randall Hopley is now wanted Canada-wide after vanishing on Saturday. There haven't been any confirmed sightings of Hopley yet, but the VPD is urging anyone with information to notify police. Hopley was scheduled to appear in provincial court today, charged with 2 counts of violating his supervision order in January after he was caught in a public library in close proximity to children. In Ottawa, the members of Parliament are voting on a motion from the Conservatives for the carbon price to be lifted from all forms of home heating. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre says the temporary heating oil exemption Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced last month is divisive. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says his party does not agree with the Conservatives ignoring the threat of climate change.
Clearly, this is divisive. They meant it to be divisive, and we're rejecting that. We think that's ridiculous. But we also reject the ridiculous approach of the Conservatives, who don't even have a plan to deal with one of the biggest worries on Canadians' minds.
Across the border, former U.S. President Donald Trump has begun testifying in his New York civil fraud lawsuit that accuses him of significantly inflating his net worth. Before taking the stand, Trump told reporters outside the courtroom he plans to maintain his innocence. Here is a clip from ABC of that moment.
Trump is doing it not raising his voice, clearly aggravating the judge. At multiple points, the judge saying this is not a political forum, stop giving speeches. He is striking comments from Donald Trump on the record, and Donald Trump smiling, enjoying what he's doing, clearly getting under the judge's skin.
The judge has already ruled there was fraud committed, but still has to determine Trump's fine. It's not an awful day for politics here in Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has confirmed the appointment of Mary Moreau to the Supreme Court of Canada. Jim Bronsdale with the Canadian Press has more on this historic moment.
Moreau, who is Chief Justice of the Court of King's Bench of Alberta, fills the vacancy created by the retirement of Russell Brown. Before her appointment to the Alberta Court 29 years ago, the bilingual Moreau practiced law in her native Edmonton, handling civil, criminal, and constitutional cases. A majority of the judges on the 9-member Supreme Court of Canada are now women for the first time in its 148-year history. Jim Bronskill, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
Now for a much more local story, Canadian authorities have detected avian flu present at 2 BC locations over the weekend. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says it was detected on Saturday at 2 commercial poultry locations, one in Langley and the other in Abbotsford. The outbreaks were the first since April, when infected wild birds migrating north were blamed for spreading the disease in BC and several other Canadian provinces. Ontario is planning to require employers to include salary ranges in job postings and disclose if AI is used during the hiring process. Labour Minister David Piccini says those changes will be part of legislation he plans to soon introduce.
Including salary ranges with job postings can help close the gender pay gap, while allowing companies to find qualified candidates faster and improve retention, helping tackle the labor shortage.
Piccini says these changes will help workers make informed decisions and that women still earn an average of 87 cents for every dollar earned by men. If you're an avid or new hiker, you may want to hear this next story. Google Maps has now corrected a dangerous North Shore backcountry trail route. North Shore Rescue says it is grateful for the correction after some hikers had wandered into unsafe areas of local mountains. It's not completely clear if Google Maps was to blame for earlier cases of hikers in that area. Now for weather and traffic, it's looking to be a mix of sun and cloud. Heavy on the cloud part if you look outside today, it's pretty clear, but there is still a chance of rain closer to noon with showers easing up around midnight. The temperature may reach 12 degrees today, but looking to stay around that 10 mark. And if you're planning on doing any traveling today, you might want to steer clear of Highway 3 as it is closed in a portion near Karamias. With an update expected at 1 p.m. today. Those were your 11 a.m. news headlines. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle, and thank you for tuning in to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.